Yo, fellowship was what up? Welcome to the Fellowship Hall with Twins and Rev. I am Rev, aka Big Ham, aka the smartest one in the room, and I'm back with my fellas. Twin number one, Keith, and twin number two, Ken. Fellas, say hello to the fellowshippers.
What's up, fellowship? It's your boy Ken, aka the moral compass of the group, keeping these jokers in line. Thanks for tuning in with us today.
What's up, fellowships? It's your boy Keith, the moderator. You know me, I know you. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Today we're doing a movie, and that movie is King Richard, starring Will Smith as the King Richard, Serena and Venus's dad, Richard Williams. So, Big Ham, go ahead and kick it off with the review of this movie. What did you think about it?
Yeah, man, I thought it was a really good movie, man. I thought it was a really good depiction by Will Smith. I think that this role will garner him some Academy Award nominations. I think it was a good role. I thought it was, pretty good telling of the story of how these careers originated, and I like the arc that they took, in order to, just get that part done. They didn't go through the whole career. They just went through the early part of their career and get started, and, and how he, the plan that he had in order to get them to where they are, man. It was just truly remarkable to think that a guy who had no tennis background, had never played tennis, but was able to take some books and some self-help books and learn how to teach these girls to become number one in the world, two of them, and one of them who is almost universally recognized as the greatest of all time women's tennis player. So it's a truly remarkable story. And I thought, it was told very well. I thought everybody acted pretty well in it. I thought the girls that played Serena and Venus were typecast well, and they did good as far as playing their parts. I thought Anjanae Ellis, who played Oracene, I thought she had a masterful performance as well. Even her talking about how she taught them the open stance, how she came up with the open stance. That was her thing, and that was cool as well. I like how they kind of, they touched on everything, and it wasn't all fairy tales. They kind of touched on Richard's past, how one of his kids showed up and she had never known about, so they kind of touched on that. But all in all, I just thought it was a really good movie, really good family movie, a really good portrayal of, how Richard got, his plan and how he got these girls to prominence in this sport. And, it was a little bit of everything you saw. You saw the difficulties of the neighborhood. You saw the racism that came into it. You saw how, they were so non-conventional, not just in the start, but non-conventional in the tennis world as well. And so that was it. I thought it was a really good movie, man. I thought it was really good. I think, as I said before, it should be some Academy Award nominations coming from this movie, particularly the performance of Will Smith.
Okay, Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, I pretty much echo what Big Ham said. I thought it was a really well done movie. It was really interesting, kept me engaged. A lot of times when these, based on true story or almost documentary type movies come out, you wonder how much is fact, how much is fiction. But even for this, regardless of that, I kind of found myself engaged in the whole movie. I know Big Ham has said many times that you and I are big Will Smith fans, and we're all big Denzel fans, but I thought Will did a great job of portraying Richard. I guess for me to describe Richard, not necessarily Will, but Richard in the movie was kind of eccentric. He was he kind of walked by the beat of his own drum. Obviously, he cared about his family, but he still did some, kind of quirky type things to me. And I know I remember when the girls were coming up in real life, but I guess I didn't pay as much attention to the dad. I know I do remember him saying, they weren't gonna play games until they went professional, and he said comments like that. But other than that, I didn't pay a lot of attention to him, and it was kind of interesting to see into his life and the things he had to do and how devoted they were to getting those girls to school. I really liked when the neighbor was calling the cops on them about, child abuse or child neglect or whatever. And then when the social workers came in, he had the girl spell and saying his family was there every night and saying, I'd rather you guys come here because I'm working with them and I'm with them rather than telling me that, they're dead on the street or something like that. I thought that was a really cool part of the movie. the thugs, or I guess, oh well, I guess they were hoodlums,
They were,
neighborhood hoodlums,
yeah,
beating them up and flirting with the girls was something that kind of just real, and it was crazy. But as a dad, you got to stand up for your family. So the fact that after he got beat up, he was going to go and kill the dude himself was pretty. I don't know. It was sad that he was considering doing that, but then he felt like that was all he could do, and so that was kind of a
something he had
emotional
to
type,
do.
yeah, something he had to
Hmm.
do. That was an
Hmm.
emotional scene, and then when the rival hoodlums that were protagonists, maybe we would say criminal protagonists, but
Antagonist, but they antagonists.
no, they were the criminal protagonists that ended up killing the hoodlum before
Oh,
Richard got a chance to.
oh
Those
yeah.
were the ones that ended up saving him. So you gotta, it's some good and bad, and some bad turned into a good. But yeah,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed the movie. It was so much in it that kept me drawn to it and entertained.
Hmm.
But one thing that I guess in my mind, it was definitely about Richard, but it was also a lot about Venus, or Venus's character, and it kind of more so foreshadowed Serena coming up, not necessarily highlighted Serena like it did Venus. Richard called her junior and stuff like that, and all the coaches were drawn to her. Eventually,
Right.
they started being drawn to Serena, but they were drawn to her, which is how it played out. Venus hit the scene first. Venus was the superstar first. Serena could never
Hmm.
beat her, and then Serena ended up taking over the mantle from her. I thought everyone acted really well in the movie. I totally enjoyed it, and it's cool to you see how dedicated and devoted he was, going to all these people trying to get free lessons for his girls in their clubs, and then to come at the end where he saw one of the guys with the crazy
Hmm.
pants,
Full
and
circle.
right, full circle like that. So I thought it was a really cool movie, and I enjoyed it. What did you
Mm.
think?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, great reviews by both of you guys, basically echoing what my sentiments are. I thought it was an exceptional movie. Most of the time when you watch I guess sometimes they call it like biopics or something like that. I don't know if this would be considered a biopic because it was kind of richer story, so maybe so. But anyway, most of the time when you watch a movie like that and you know about the history also, then it's good. But it also can be, like you said, Ken, more documentary feeling, so almost boring. But I felt like this told the story, a true story, but it also was entertaining throughout. I agree with Ralph about the Academy Award type possibilities from this movie. And before I watched it, I heard like, oh, this is Will Smith's chance to get an Academy Award or Oscar, what have you. And I was like, okay, let's check this movie out. And while I admit that Will acted great and did the role really well, I felt like that the Miss Ellis that played his wife also rivaled his performance in this movie. And not only that, I felt like the two girls playing Venus and Serena, and specifically Venus, like also carried this movie. Like Ken mentioned, me and him both really like Will Smith as an actor. We kind of root for him. Um, and I have to admit, and Fellowship has let me know if this is wrong, or you guys let me know. But I have to admit that even though I felt like Will did a great job playing this role, when I looked at him, I felt like it was Will playing a role. I never got lost in thinking that it was actually Richard Williams. I always said this is Will playing Richard Williams. Whereas I found myself thinking, man, this girl is Venus and this girl is Serena and this is their mom. Like all of them acted great. Will acted great, but for some reason even in Ali, I thought that was kind of more so Ali than Will. But in this movie, I just saw Will. I know what you think, Rap, but I saw Will as Richard, not Richard in the movie. Nevertheless, I still thought it was a great movie, acted great by all. And I also think that the guys that played the trainers, both of them, the first one and then the second one, I thought they really, really did a great job. Like everybody in this movie, I felt like acted above the expectation.
Yeah,
We can see good movies, and then you can see movies that are really good because one character, like the Joker, Heath Ledger, like took it to another level while everybody else was good, but he was really, really good in this character. But everybody in this movie, I felt like played their role perfectly. So I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I felt like the story that was told was great. I do feel like if we want to, review the movie a little bit more in depth, I do feel like that some of the things that Richard did probably could have been wrong at the time. Like not talking to
We're
his
wrong.
wife.
We're
Yeah,
wrong.
we're wrong. Not talking to, I mean, but I'm saying it now that we know that the end product actually turned out to be great and probably all their hopes and dreams and more. But not talking to your wife before you making a decision is wrong. You know, I also felt like he was kind of manipulating some of those trainer guys to a point also. But sometimes you have to
Not
do
kind
that.
of. He
You
was
were
he was
definitely,
fully
yeah.
doing it. Yeah.
You have to do that, but you can come off as a jerk, and it can come back to bite you. I'm glad it didn't. At least
He was
detrimentally.
definitely viewed as a jerk.
Right.
Yeah,
It didn't
yeah,
come back to bite him because his daughters were so talented, but he was definitely viewed as a jerk, and then he was a black jerk, and that was a really rough story for him early on.
Right.
yeah.
And
Right, and
I
people
mean I think
probably
it's
was
easy.
rooting against them because of him. And sorry,
People were rooting against them more so because they were black than just him, but he was the added extra.
yeah. If
He
you
black, now
if
we can stick it to Richard as well.
but at the same time, hold on, Ken. At the same time, while I was watching this and thoroughly enjoying this movie, I also, since it's present day, I also kind of got a little LeVar Ball out of some of the things that he was doing or some of the ways that things were going. So LeVar probably, modeled a little bit of himself off Richard. Potentially, that's just my assumption, but the way the things Richard doing back then was some of the things LeVar was doing, recently a few years ago. Nevertheless, I still feel that they were
I think
they were
there's a
trying to
big
push their
difference, though.
kids. Say that again.
I think there's a huge difference between. I can see the comparison between LeVar and Richard, but I think there's a huge difference
What's
Speak
what's
on it.
your
between
what's your
LeVar and
what's
Richard.
your difference, real quick?
I think at the end of the day, I think Richard was all about setting his daughters up to be able to control their own careers, while I think LeVar still wants to be in control of Lonzo and
Mm.
LaMelo's career. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. So
and
I
so
mean, I
and
think
so
I agree
like
with you.
as I watched their the Ball and the Family reality show, you kind of see LeVar. He kind of don't want to let them go,
Yeah.
whereas Richard from the beginning he let Venus make the decision about which shoe company he's gonna go with, whether they should wait, whether they should sign. And so I think there was a little bit of difference. Whereas LeVar, he's mad at LaMelo when he got with Puma,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
he don't want Lonzo to go sign with this other. He wants them to be with the Triple B. So I think that's one big difference. But there is a similarity in both of them. Raising and grooming
Right.
uh,
Their children.
exceptional
Yeah.
children that became
Mm-hmm.
exceptional professional athletes.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily saying that they were like equal, identical, but I was just saying I found myself thinking on some of the similarities of Richard in the movie and LeVar in the recent history. Ken, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's natural for us, even though like you were going when I was gonna chime in when you talking about how Richard could have come off as a jerk. I was gonna say, yeah, I totally agree that he was, but I think from our standpoint, um, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but you tend to try to pull for the person that looks like you. And so
Mm-hmm.
with Richard coming up, even though he was outlandish or rash or
Mm-hmm.
braggadocious, he was still bringing up two African American girls as athletes. And you being an African American, you're gonna hope for the best for them. And I think
Yeah.
that's how a lot of times we can overlook things. And honestly, before you said it, I was gonna say there are definitely similarities with LeVar Ball and his sons. I mean, maybe the end game is not necessarily the same, but ultimately, I think. Well, I take it back. Maybe some of the steps aren't the same, but I think the end game is where they want the best for their children, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they both have that. And so this whole bragging on my child, betting on my child to win, telling the world that they're great. Um, those are the similarities that I think they see. And fortunately, if your children live up to it, you look like a genius, a jerk genius, but you can look like a genius. And I think that's something that worked well for both of them in these situations, in their situations.
Yeah. I guess real quick, one last thing for me as far as my review and I guess thoughts that were provoked from this movie was as a parent. as a parent, you see this type of stuff, and we've seen it all before. And since we're talking about this movie, that's why I'm bringing it up as far as being fresh on my mind. But you see the determination and the will of these kids, the ones playing Venus and Serena specifically in this movie. And like as a athlete, younger athlete growing up myself, not the greatest, but athletic for sure. That's the desire and passion that I would love to see in my kids in anything, and I feel like that as parents we can drive them, we can direct them or guide them to something one way or the other, whether it's sports or academics. But the difference is if that kid gets that same desire or similar desire. And I just
Their
felt like
passion.
watching this, that passion. I just felt like watching this movie. Venus and Serena were just as determined as Richard was, and I feel like that can be a huge difference. You
I
disagree,
think,
Ken?
man, I think the good thing about seeing that movie is we have got, in today's society, everybody wants to criticize a parent for pushing their child.
Yeah.
So it's like if you push your child do this and do that, everybody you're doing too much. Let them have their own mind. So
Hmm.
everybody criticizing them,
Let
but
them be a kid.
Yeah.
right, let them be a kid. But I think what you can see here is there's some value in, making sure your child's in the activity and then helping your child succeed and be excellent in that activity as well.
Yeah.
I think it's clear to watch and see, if there's signs that, your child don't want to do it and you're pushing them and they can be unhealthy. But
Hmm.
the one thing I appreciate about this movie that, it let parents know that there's a healthy way that you can push your children in a particular activity
Yeah.
and allow them to be successful and not be seen as the overbearing parent. So that
Exactly.
was good, especially in our community. People
Mm.
always want to label parents that that are kind of hard or pushing their children that comes out uh, on the exterior as being hard on them. They
Hmm.
want to like to criticize those parents, but I think it was good for us to see that there is a way that it can be done. I really appreciate that.
And even the neighbors still try to criticize or call the police or child protective services on that behavior because like you said, Ralph, there's a I guess a perception that let a kid be a kid, or everybody got their own perspective of what something should be, but they usually are trying to portray their wants or thoughts onto someone else when it's not necessarily the case. It's not always the same for person to person. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is you mentioned the drive and determination that Venus and Serena had, and I think so, but then again, also I don't know if they had a choice either. And it's not like it was abusive or anything like that. It was just so okay, when we come home from school, we got to do our homework and then we got to practice. It
Hmm.
may not necessarily be like they're just waking up in the morning saying, "Okay, I want to go outside and practice tennis." It's just I know I got to do it, and that was just the schedule and the routine that their dad had for them. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying there are definitely kids in society or in the world that they see some they have a drive, they fall in love with it, they want to do it 24/7. But there are also some that may enjoy it, but it may not be what they constantly think about, but it's part of their routine. They know they got to do it, and they just tackle it like that. So I think it's still different avenues that you can take. Some have the drive already always in themselves, they don't need any pushing, and some have to have structure and get some push. As long as it's a healthy push and not borderline abuse or berating or anything like that, it should be okay. But I guess I just wanted to make the comment that when you looked at the movie, you saw that the kids had the drive and desire to do it, and that's definitely your perspective. But I guess
Hmm.
I could have saw it also as this is what we have to do, this is the routine that dad has in place for us as well.
Yeah,
So I
and the
think you can
good
look
thing
at it
that
both
Richard
ways.
did, man, was having that balance because
Yeah.
he saw those signs, with Jennifer Capriati, and
Right.
he was out there looking at all those actual overbearing
Tennis.
tennis parents, right? And so that was the good foresight that he saw that, well, we're not going to be like this. We're going to allow these girls to practice tennis well, practice tennis a lot. We also want to allow them to be well rounded and allow them to step away from the sport and not have the sport be their whole life. And
Right.
so that was good foresight and a good job by him to introduce some balance into their lives as well. So that's why I think it was just a good blueprint to follow where, you know, I remember being at a family reunion. We had a blues band playing, and the lead singer said, I'm gonna juke just a little bit. I ain't gonna do too much because he said too much of anything can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good job by Richard to not be too much, but just have his hand on them just enough, and then also be able to pull them away so they can be well rounded. As
Yeah.
you see now, a lot of athletes, those tennis athletes, were flaming out late
Trying out.
20s, early 30s.
Hmm.
Venus and Serena are both 40 plus now and still playing. Even though I think they probably should be hanging it up by now, but they're
They
still doing it
can.
and they're able to do it because of the plan that Richard set forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all right, fellas. Good reviews. In my opinion, anyway. Fellas, make sure you go in the comments and let us know. Engage with us, and we'll engage with you and discuss how you felt about the movie or what you thought about our reviews, and we'll get back with you. Ralph, go ahead with the next thing.
So the title of the movie was King and Richard, and it really depicted the plan that Richard had in developing Venus and Serena, who became two greats in the sport of tennis. But just this past week, one of Serena and Venus's half sisters came out,
Mhm.
and they was talking about how Richard is no king. And so the her point was, Richard, he did a good job by Serena and Venus, but he left his other four kids, one who was 8 weeks old when he
Mhm.
left their family, told that little girl he was going to get her a bike and left their family and never came back.
For
So
good, yeah.
it's like in your mind, how do you see Richard or quantify him, knowing their part of his life and the part of his life with Venus and Serena, not just with Venus and Serena, but he raised Orsine's three girls as well that weren't his in their house as well throughout their adulthood. So how do you how do you place or see Richard in his mind, knowing that dichotomy between his previous life and his life with the Williams sisters?
Yeah, that's a good, I guess, good talking point. Ken, you want to go or you want me to go first?
I can go. I mean, it's wrong. That's the one word answer is
Mm.
wrong. And he abandoned his family, and so what makes this family better? What makes his family with Venus and Serena and the other three sisters better than his previous family? Obviously he claimed, I don't know if he if this whole plan idea that he was pushing throughout this whole movie was something he spoke about often in real life, but based on the movie, he always had this plan for them, for those two. Those
Mm.
were his daughters, although he was raising the other girls as well. It was always this plan he had for Venus and Serena. So what about his first kids that he had? So that's the thing that would bother me, and to hear about that, it makes me sad. Obviously, it's commonplace in the world we live in. Fathers abandon children, mothers abandon children. And they go on, and sometimes they don't do well, sometimes they do well, and still forget about the previous life and the previous family that they had. So to hear about that kind of makes you sad. It puts a damper on you. Kind of want to root for him, and ultimately you still end up rooting for the girls. But you obviously see that he was a flawed individual. He made mistakes. I don't know if he's owned up to them, if he's tried to make amends. If based on what Big Ham was saying, sounds like he has not. So that's just a sad situation, and it's unfortunate because it's probably more common than we like to admit. But yeah, it definitely makes me feel. It definitely taints him in my mind.
Yeah, I'll I guess reword something that you said is more common that we would like to believe, but not that we admit because we know that it is very common. But yeah, as far as that, Ralph, I mean, that's reality. Unfortunate as it is, that's reality. From those abandoned children type standpoint, Venus and Serena's dad isn't the only person to ever abandon some kids. So from that aspect, it is what it is. Now you could be looking at it from, yeah, but he went and took this family, he took them to the millionaires and blah blah blah, and that's a specific situation for you, which is all you care about, which I understand. Like Ken said, obviously he was flawed. That's a mistake in my mind. A man should never abandon his family, let alone his kids. He still should be able to support them and stuff. And from what you said, it seemed like that he completely abandoned them and didn't pick up another relationship with them. And so that's bad. As far as the King Richard title or whatever, for the movie,
It's a
that's what he
movie.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
for
movie.
the movie, that's what he was. He wasn't a great man, but kings aren't great men either. They just born into some monarchy, and that's the way it is, And some kings are terrible, but there's just a play on words. Like King Richard, who cares? It could have been called Richard Williams, and the movie would have been the same. You know what I mean? So yeah, I understand what they're saying. Raph is probably coming from a place of hurt and
Yeah,
probably a little bit of jealousy. I have to admit, probably a little bit of
resentment
jealousy,
too.
but and resentment exactly. But it's life. It's a life, and it's not just a black race life. It's all people who have people that are abandoned or neglected or whatever. What about you, Raph? You brought it up, but let us know your thought.
I think it tanks everything.
What really? You mean
Yes.
tanks the movie?
No, I don't think it takes a movie. I think it takes everything about Richard's legacy.
Yes,
I don't think you can compartmentalize what he did to those people. Like, yes, people abandon their families every day, but then you had the means to go back and,
Mm,
in some kind of way, course correct what you did,
I
and
see
you
what you're
just
saying.
chose not to.
Yeah.
It's just,
15 years later though, right? 15, 16, 17 years later, right?
I mean, the point of the matter is he could
More
have maintained a
time
relationship
later.
with his children, and then once he got to a place of financial stability, he could at least gave
Gave
them
back.
some type of financial assistance. He chose not to do it. He just chose to live his life as if they didn't exist. Now, what he did with Venus and Serena was admirable. What he did to those other four children was completely, absolutely unforgivable,
Yeah.
and it
Deplorable.
was terrible. And what makes it worse is, you have some people that abandon their kids and go on and live life with other people and don't really have the means to do anything. He left them and went and changed his life completely and totally and cut them people out. That
Yeah.
makes it even worse.
Mm.
So I think, I think, and let me tell you something. I've been loving Serena Williams since I was 13 years old. But I think that knowing all that about Richard and knowing that he walked out on that baby that was 2 months old
8 weeks.
and
Yeah.
never looked back, and that child don't even know him at all and has never even interacted with him, I think that takes everything he ever done for Venus and Serena. It takes
Mm.
everything he ever done. He could have absolved it some. It wouldn't have been a complete absolution, but he could
Mm.
have absolved it some by at least acknowledging them,
Taking
bringing
care
all
of
his kids together, letting them spend some time, getting to know each other, doing all that, and then doing some financial assistance. His other two sons, man, those dudes devolved into a life of crime and living in poverty and spent time in prison, both of
it.
Mm.
Mm.
them. And he has two other children who have more money than they'll ever be able to spend. And
Do
these
you,
people don't even communicate at all. I think her
so
sister said she has only met Serena one time in her entire life. And
really?
so and that falls back on Richard, man. And I think even though he done something great with Serena, I think the way that he treated his other 14 before them tanks everything he ever done. Everything that he's ever done is tainted.
Okay, so then let's go a little bit deeper in this rabbit hole. Do you feel like Serena and Venus should reach out to their siblings and try to help them out?
I think so.
Have they?
I think so. I don't think they should be required to,
It's not their
because
responsibility.
I don't think they should be required to because that's not their responsibility. But they have the means now to be able to, help them out with something. I don't necessarily think they have to support all their brothers and sisters, but I think if their brothers and sisters need some help with something, some help with this, some help with that. Like the one sister talk about, she has this foundation. She has a foundation that she's working with. I think it's noble and honorable for Venus and Serena to be like, we see you working on this. Let us sow a seed here or there. I think it's just, it would just be the natural, good human thing to do. but I don't think they should be required to do it because they didn't have those children. They didn't abandon those people. Richard did, and I don't know when or even I don't know at what age if Serena and Venus even learned that they had some other brothers and sisters. I know
Yeah.
Oracene said in the movie that their son showed up and knocked on the door, and that's when she found out about it. But so I don't think they should be required, but I do think it's a decent thing to do you know, to send out a little birdie and say, yo, if you need some help with this or help with that, you contact me and I'm here for you.
So okay, thanks Ralph for that. We were gonna go to our last segment, but I got one quick thing to add. What was your what was your favorite scene in the film?
My favorite scene in the film, it was a lot. I got a couple. So my first one was this when
What was your favorite scene,
I got more than
singular?
one, man. I more than one. My favorite scene in the movie, the first one was when Oracene was showing some doubts about they were pushing them too hard. And then Richard was like, "Them girls got to be good and tended because they ain't gonna make it as singers." Because he heard them in there. I thought that was, I thought that was
But that was a
hilarious.
joke because he heard
But
him in there the one singing.
my other favorite scene was when Rick Macy came to the realization that the method that Richard did was right. When they came, when after Venus lost that match and they came out and all those fans were there supporting her, and Rick was like, Richard, you did it. They all want to come to the table. That was probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Kim, what about you?
Yeah, I honestly was gonna say the last where Venus was so sad, that she had lost, and after the whole bathroom icing and junk, and then she went on, and so many people were happy. So since Rab took that one, I'm gonna say I think what was favorite for me was and this could just all be adding to the drama or the film, making it feel good. But it was when the Nike guy was asking them what they wanted to do, and then Rich was like, "You shouldn't be asking me. You need to be asking her." And that was ultimately him letting Venus be her own person, and she was the one doing the work, so she was the one making the decision, and she ultimately chose to wait. So I thought that was a good scene.
Yeah, yeah. My favorite scene was the tennis court scene with Venus and Richard, where she wanted to turn pro, and he had kind of decided not to let her play in that tournament, and she was there practicing, and not necessarily when she was hitting the balls at him, but it was the actress that was like throwing all that emotion out as saying that you told me I was gonna be the best, so won't you give me an opportunity? And also with his story about raising in the South and getting beat up and his dad seeing his
Run away.
dad run
That was
away.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
was my
powerful.
favorite scene. That was a powerful scene in the movie. And now that we already talked about it, that should have been more reason for him to never leave his family. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah,
and and
man.
and while he did that for Venus and Serena, he was a hypocrite for leaving his first
Very
child.
hypocritical. I thought that was a heartwarming story until I learned about him walking out on them kids and that baby at 8 weeks old.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, you SOB, you.
Settle down. Settle down.
Yeah. All right, fellas, we finally come to the end of our review, but not quite yet. The pod is where we give our rating for the movie that we watched. And if you're a normal fellowship, you know how we do it. And if you usually just watch our TV show pods, that we don't do that here. But in this movie, when we rate the movie, what we do is we give it a 0 to 5 rating, and usually people do 5 stars or whatever, but we don't do stars here. We do fellowship hall plates, chicken plates specifically for those of you that keep in track. And that's because we were raised in church growing up, and when we had some big days at church, I think they used to call them rally days at church.
Yeah,
They would have they would feed the people between the first service and the second service, and you go back there and you get a plate. And the big meal ticket was usually chicken. So that's how we rate our movies here with our chicken plates. So Big Ham, go ahead and give us your rating of King Richard.
man. 4 chicken plates, a
Mm,
solid 4 chicken plates, man.
mm.
I thought it was really good. I thought, as you all have said, well acted by everybody involved. I thought the dude that played Rick Macy was really good. Especially, I can't think of his real name. I seen him in other stuff, and him
John
being Macy
Bernthal or
was
something
like,
like that.
yeah. He really became a chameleon and became Macy. So I thought
Shane from The Walking Dead.
yeah,
Yep.
I thought that was a good job by him as well. So I give it a solid 4 out of 5 chicken.
Ken, go ahead. Or you
Yep,
want me to go?
you can go ahead.
No, go ahead. You said
Oh,
it.
I was gonna say, yeah. So for those fellowshippers that do catch our movie podcast, those few that do, um, I never really like chicken as much as the other guys, so I'm gonna change mine to catfish plates. And I like catfish. And
Yeah,
from a
I like it
catfish
too.
standpoint, I'm gonna all right, settle down.
I
From
don't.
a catfish standpoint, I'm gonna give it 4 catfish plates. I'm gonna echo Big Ham. I thought it was a really, really well acted movie. I think it's hard to give something 5 plates. With it being such a mellow type film, it was drama. It was heartwarming,
Uplifting.
uplifting, but it didn't quite make it the hit the precipice that would get it to 5 plates. But I'm gonna give it 4 solid plates. I'm echoing Big Ham. I thought it was a really good movie. I had no problem sitting through it. It was a good movie. What
Hmm.
you got?
Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my plate, and I am with you guys as far as not necessarily giving it a 5, but I'm a little bit different as far as giving it a 4. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5 chicken plate, and that's because I really really like this movie. I thought that the acting on all sides was really really good and impressive and surprising. The movie was good. The story was even better because of the result. And Venus and Serena actually grew up to be superstars, and then we feel like that they are just as good people, which is also a true sign of a good upbringing. Now, not necessarily the only way to have a good upbringing or turn into a great person, but when you turn into a great person, that does usually reflect on your upbringing or your parents. So 4.5 chicken plates for me. Big Ham, go ahead and close it out.
Man, we want to thank y'all for coming to the Fellowship Hall with the Twins and Ralph. If you could continue to check in with us, we are currently reviewing Power Book 2 and also Insecure, the final season. So we're reviewing those as well. So stay tuned in and plugged in with us at the Fellowship Hall on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at the Fellowship Hall. Follow me on social media, Facebook at Raphael Hammond, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at HamDog22. Thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time, Fellowshippers, be blessed.